guys. All right, so last time we left off with Taylor, Austin, and Michael having a little meeting at this party, and Taylor admits that she is the reason why they won the basketball game. She used her powers to help them win the basketball game, and it seems like she's being kind of careless about how she uses her powers. Also, in the last chapter, Michael almost got in a fight with one of the toughest kids at school, but Taylor uses her powers to make that kid um, basically lose. And so she does that by rebooting his mind, so he ends up not being able to fight. And it makes Michael Bay look tough. So we're going to read and see what happens. We're in the middle of this page. Where Taylor just got done rebooting Austin in the middle of his sentence. "You can't do that," he said. "You don't know if that damages someone's brain. It could burn my brain cells." "Relax, Austin," I said. "You've got plenty to burn." I turned to Taylor. "He's right, you know. We shouldn't be using our powers on each other." "I was just fooling around." "All right," I said. "Rule number 1, no using powers against each other." "And we need a mission statement," Austin said, though this time not quite as confidently. "We need a mission," I said. "I think I have one," Taylor said, moving closer to me. "To find out why you and I have powers, I've discovered something that might be important." I sat down on the bed next to her. "What?" "Okay, you were born in California, right?" "Pasadena." "Get this, so was I." "Really?" "I asked my parents. I was born at Pasadena General Hospital." So I went online and tried to find our birth records. They have the records of births for the last 42 years, and all that time, just 11 days are missing. "Guess which days?" "Our birthdays," I ventured. "Exactly," Taylor said. "That's weird," I said. "Statistically an improbability," Austin said. "You two were born at the same hospital nearly the same day with a similar mutant variation." "Mutant variation?" I said. "For lack of a better term." "Find a better term," Taylor said. "I like power." "Clearly," Austin said, loud enough for us to hear. "I mean the word power. We have similar powers." She looked at Austin. "I'm not a mutant." "Technically," Austin said, "you are." "Yeah, well, you're a geek. Doesn't change the fact that you're a mutant. If you say that again, I'm going to reboot you." I stood up. "Stop it, you two. Austin, quit calling us mutants or I'll shock you." He blanched. "Why would the records be hidden?" I asked. "Same reason I hide my diary from my mother," Taylor said. "Because you'd get in trouble if she found it?" I said. I smiled at Taylor. "I think you're onto something." "Except we've hit a dead end," she said. "The records are gone." "There's more than one way to skin the proverbial cat," Austin said, still sounding a little abused. The county recorder's office will have vital statistics for." "Can you even speak English?" Taylor said. "Excuse me. The government has records of all the deaths and births during that time period, even if the hospital doesn't." "Excellent," I said. "So we just look up those births and see where they lead." "I'll do it," Austin said. "I'll look them up and analyze them for our next club meeting. When should we meet again?" "You have your birthday party tomorrow," Taylor said, "and I have mine on Sunday. Monday I have cheerleading practice. How about Tuesday?" "Works for me," Austin said. The only thing Austin ever had on his calendar was clogging and the Discovery Channel. "Good with me," I said. "Then the first meeting of the Electro Clan is hereby adjourned until next Tuesday." "Good," Austin said. "I hope there's some of those brownies left." The three of us walked back downstairs. I glanced at my watch. It was around 10:30. I said to Taylor, "I need to call my mom for a ride home." "Don't you have a phone?" she asked. I felt embarrassed. "No, things are kind of tight right now." "You can use my cell phone," she said. She flipped it open and handed it to me. I pushed the buttons, but the screen kept dissolving into static. "What's wrong with your phone?" She looked at it. "I don't know. Nothing was wrong with it earlier. Let me try it." I handed it back. She pushed a few buttons. "It's fine." "Maybe it's you." "Maybe you better dial." "What's your number?" 208-555-3989. I'm going to pause for a minute because it's a little confusing that the phone's not working for Michael. Like, you would think that he had tried using cell phones before, and if he wasn't able to use them before, then he would know about it. So that's kind of weird. She dialed the number, and after a moment she said, "Hello, Mrs. Bay. This is Taylor Ridley. I'm calling for Michael." I put my hand out for the phone, but she didn't surrender it. "Thanks, we're having a good time." Long pause. "That sounds really fun. When are you doing it?" "Okay, I think that will be fine. I look forward to meeting you too. Here's Michael." She handed me the phone with her hand over the mouthpiece. Your mom invited me over tomorrow night for cake and ice cream. You're coming? If that's okay with you. Sure. I put the phone to my ear. Hi, Mom. Yeah, that's okay. Sorry, I just had a bad connection. Well, it's just me, okay? We're over on Walker Lane. Walker Lane. It's the last house. You can't miss it. The house is huge. Okay, bye. I handed Taylor her phone. That's so weird, I said. I've never had that problem before. Maybe your electricity is increasing, Taylor said. Tomorrow we'll check your voltage again, Austin said. I felt like an old car battery when he said that. Austin said to Taylor, Hey, if you're coming over to Michael's, we can have another meeting. I looked at Taylor. Fine with me, she said. Fine with me, I said. Austin smiled. Great bones. He put out his fist. I put out my fist. I don't do that, Taylor said. I admired how easily she'd gotten out of that. I'd have to remember to do that next time. Birthday wishes. Saturday morning, my mother got up early and made my second favorite breakfast, hot chocolate and crepes, both of them topped with whipped cream and chocolate syrup. My birthday was the one time of the year that my mother said nothing when I filled my plate with more whipped cream than crepe. She made herself a simple crepe with butter and powdered sugar, then sat down next to me. I'm sorry I have to work today. Are you sure you're okay with celebrating after school on Monday? I don't care what day we celebrate, I said with my mouth full. And we'll have cake and ice cream tonight. Do you and Austin still want to go to the new aquarium on Monday? Yeah, and can we go to Pizza Max for dinner? Whatever you want. It's your day, she smiled at me, and her eyes got all sparkly. I can't believe you're 15. Another year and you'll be driving. You've grown into such a fine young man. I'm so proud of you. My mom always got emotional on my birthdays. Watermark moments, she called them, whatever that means. Thanks, I said. Wait, I have a present. She ran out of the room and came back a moment later carrying a small rectangular box wrapped in tissue paper. I know we usually wait until we have cake to open presents, but I wanted to give this to you now. It's special. Oh. Uh-oh, what happened? Sorry about that. Let's keep going. I pulled off the wrapping to expose a dark blue velvet box. I opened it. Inside was a man's watch. Wow, it was your father's, she said. I lifted it out of the box, admiring it. Do you like it? She asked. A lot. It's cool. Well, you're a man now, so I wanted to give you something special. Turn it over. There's something on the back. I turned the watch around. It read, I love you forever, Mom. I had it engraved, she said. I hugged her. Thanks, Mom. You're welcome. I couldn't imagine a better gift. I wanted to tell her that she was the best mother in the world. I didn't. I should have. I should have. Makes me feel like something bad might happen. The first meeting. About an hour after my mother left for work, Austin knocked on my door. He was carrying the multimeter in his notebook. He noticed that the can of whipped cream on the counter. Dude, did you have crepes? Yes. And he left? In the fridge, you can microwave them. He heated up the remaining crepes, then piled them high with powdered sugar and whipped cream while I played a video game. That was a cool party last night, he said. I nodded, intent on my game. Yeah, it was, especially when you knocked Corky over. I didn't say anything. Taylor's really a babe, you know. She likes you. She likes everyone. I don't mean it like that. I mean she likes you. I read this book on body language and I was watching her body. Yeah, I bet you were. No, for scientific purposes. I bet, I said. When he finished eating the last of the crepes, he came over to the table. Okay, let's see if there's been a change in your electrical status. I paused the game. After the cell phone incident, I was curious to find out myself. Let's do it. Wait, what's that? He said, pointing to my new watch. I held up my arm. It's a watch my mom gave me this morning for my birthday. What's it made of? I think silver. He said. Silver has high conductivity, even more than copper. That's why they use it in satellites and computer keyboards. Austin always vomited up something he knew about his subject. So? Well, you should probably take it off. It might throw off your readings. All right, I unclasped it and laid it across the kitchen counter. Then I clipped the multimeter's cables to the end of my fingers. Austin looked down at the machine. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go! I surged. Electricity sparked from the copper ends. Whoa, Austin cried. He set down the machine and began scribbling in his notebook. I unhooked the clips. What was I? Dude, you're not going to believe it. What? This thing goes to 1,000 volts and it's saying error. You're definitely becoming more electric. I sat down on one of the kitchen bar stools and put my watch back on. I wondered what that meant. More electric. Do you think it will stop? I don't know. No wonder Taylor's cell phone didn't work. He set down his notebook. So is Taylor really coming over for cake and ice cream? She said she was. Then afterward we can have our first official meeting of the Electro Clan. That's sick, Austin said. Real sick. Austin and I played video games most of the day except when we took a break and walked to the 7-Eleven for Slurpees. Around 5 o'clock, Austin's dad came and got him for dinner. After he left, I made myself macaroni and cheese again, then lay on the couch and read from one of the books I'd been assigned in my English class. Lord of the Flies. That is a really good book. I read until Austin came back an hour later. We still had time for a few games of Halo before my mother got home. Mom got home at the usual time, a little after 6:30. I could tell from her eyes that it had been a hard day. Still, she smiled when she saw me. She was carrying a chocolate butter cream cake from the supermarket's bakery. I got your favorite cake, she said as she walked in. Hi, Austin. Hi, Mrs. Vey. How was work? It was work, she replied. She set the cake down on the counter. She looked at the multimeter but didn't say anything about it. Did you boys get some dinner? She spotted the dishes in the sink and the pan still on the stove. Oh, you did. Mac and cheese. Sorry I didn't do the dishes, I said. I got distracted with the game. That's okay. It's your birthday. While my mother was changing her clothes, the doorbell rang. Michael, would you get that? She shouted from her room. Got it, Mom. I paused the game, then opened the door. Taylor stood in the hallway holding a wrapped package. I immediately started blinking. Happy birthday, Taylor said. She held out the present. This is for you. Wow, thank you. I felt dumb that I hadn't gotten her anything. Come in. Thanks. Austin stared in awe as if we'd just received an angelic visitation, which wasn't far from the truth. I text, she said. I knew she was kidding, but I didn't think Austin did. He was a genius about everything but girls. I think she's calling him Tex because everyone thinks his name has something to do with Texas. That's funny. Hey, Taylor, he said. He'd pretty much given up on correcting everyone. As he was fond of saying, I don't care what you call me as long as it's not late to dinner. I think he meant it. My mother walked out from her room. She smiled when she saw Taylor. You must be Taylor, she said. Hello, Taylor said. She walked up and shook my mother's hand. It's so nice to meet you. It's nice to meet you, too. My mom glanced over at me standing there holding the wrapped package. Taylor brought me a present, I said. How thoughtful, Michael. Will you get the ice cream from the freezer? Sure. My mom led Taylor over to the table. I hoped she wouldn't interrogate her, but of course she did. So Ridley's an interesting name. Is it Scottish? No, it means cleared woods in Old English, so I'm like a vacant lot. My mother laughed. Have you lived around here for a while? I've lived in the same house my whole life. Do you have any brothers or sisters? I have 2 older brothers. They both go to college, so it's kind of like being an only child. Well, we're happy you could come tonight. Just go ahead and sit down, and I'll get the cake. Thank you, Mrs. Vey. My mother walked back into the kitchen where I was scooping ice cream into bowls. What a cute girl, she whispered to me. Well done. Come on, Mom, she's just a friend. My mom just smiled. She put 16 candles on the cake, 1 extra for good luck, lit them, and carried the cake to the table. The three of them sang happy birthday to me, and we sat around the table for the next hour and talked and laughed. Taylor and my mother really seemed to hit it off. I was surprised at how talkative Taylor was. She even told us her favorite birthday story. When I was 5, my mom made this Beauty and the Beast cake with all these plastic trees. And they caught on fire, so we had a big forest fire in our kitchen table until my dad blew it out with the fire extinguisher. He's a little extreme that way. It put out the fire but ruined the cake. So my mom ended up putting candles on Twinkies. We all laughed except for Austin, who no doubt would have done the exact same thing as Taylor's dad. When is your birthday, Taylor? My mom asked. Sunday, she turned to me. Michael, why didn't you tell me? This should have been a joint party. It's just a cake, I said. Taylor said, so, Michael, are you going to open my gift? Yes, I peeled the paper back, then opened the box. Inside was a black hoodie with our school's name printed on the front. Do you like it? Taylor asked. I thought you could, wear it to the games. I held it up. It's awesome, thanks. Cool, Austin said. My birthday's in October. My mother smiled. That's a very sweet gift. Taylor grinned happily. It's nothing. We sat around and talked until 9 when my mother started gathering up the dishes. I think I'm going to call it a night, Taylor. Do you have a ride home? My dad's going to pick me up. Well, it was very nice meeting you. I hope we'll be seeing you again. She smiled. Thank you, Mrs. Vey. I'm glad you invited me. You're welcome. Good night, Austin. Good night, Mrs. Vey. Thanks for the cake. My mom walked over to me and kissed my forehead. I love you. Happy birthday. Thanks, Mom. I love you too. She walked off to the bedroom. When she was gone, Taylor said, Your mom's really nice. She's a babe, Austin said. Dude, she's my mother. You've got to stop saying that. Sorry. I'm going to pause for a minute and just comment on how sweet it is that Michael tells his mother he loves her in front of his friends and the girl he likes. Taylor laughed. Well, she is. I hope I'm not hot when I'm a mom. I wished my mom had heard what Taylor said. Lately, she had been saying that she thought she looked old. Austin said, So, let's get our meeting started. Who's going to call it to order? I looked at Taylor. I think you should be the president, she said to me. Why me? Because I said so. I second that, Austin said. Somehow her reasoning seemed a little ironic, but I wasn't about to fight her on it. Okay, I'll call the first meeting of the Electro Clan to order. I looked at Taylor. Now what? We need to follow up on our last meeting. We need minutes, Austin said. No more than 30, Taylor said. My dad's coming to pick me up. No minutes is what they call the notes for the last meeting, I said. Austin rolled his eyes. Sorry, she said. Austin started. In our last meeting, Taylor shared her discovery that you were both born in the same hospital in Pasadena, California. A very unlikely coincidence. Then Austin pointed out the fact that both of you have this mutate. Taylor looked at him and he stopped. This power is a statistical improbability. And third, the hospital records of said hospital for the 11 days around your birth dates beginning April 16th appear to have been conveniently expunged. Taylor looked at me. Does he always talk like this? Pretty much, I said. Expunged means erased. I only know because Austin loved using that word. Thanks, Austin. I have something very important to add to the record, Austin said. Go ahead, I said. I discovered something very disturbing. During those 11 days, there were 287 births in Pasadena County. What's so disturbing about that? Taylor said. Austin looked at her. May I continue? Sorry. 59 of those babies were born at Pasadena General Hospital, where you two were born. As I looked over the records, I came across something very, very peculiar. He paused just to make sure he had our attention. 42 of the children born during that time didn't live more than 2 days. What? Taylor and I almost said in unison. I checked the same time period the month before, and there was only one baby that didn't live. 40 times the number of... I couldn't say it. That is so sad, Taylor said. Did it say what happened to them? Unknown causes, Austin scratched his head. But it gets stranger. Only 17 of the babies born at Pasadena General lived, and that includes you two. I leaned forward on my chair. You're saying that out of 59 births, only 17 babies survived. Precisely. Austin knit his fingers together. It couldn't be a coincidence. A 4,200% increase in death in an 11-day period. And the records of those 11 days disappear. I'm guessing that whatever caused those deaths has something to do with whoever destroyed the records. We need to find out what was different about those 11 days, Taylor said. My thinking exactly, Austin said. Just give me a few days to get to the bottom of it. Okay. I will see you next time.